Hi, I'm John from PGP Wedding Films, and welcome to Say Yes to the Best, where we talk to the best wedding pros to give you wedding planning advice. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We have new content out all the time to help you with your wedding planning. Today I'm talking with Eilena. She is a floral designer at event Loft, and she also hosts the Wedding Tea podcast. So I wanted to have her on to talk about both of those things. Eilena, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So first, I just kind of wanted to hear a little bit about the podcast. What motivated you to start it and how it's been going?
I saw there was a gap within not just being a professional within the wedding industry, but overall for planning and advice and tips, where you get kind of some of the same questions and blank looks from couples when you ask them certain questions, or they can't understand pricing and overall education. I think there was a lack there because a lot of couples would go to publications, wedding publications for advice, and that doesn't always translate into what it is for that particular couple. And the Wedding Tea focuses on multicultural couples and beyond. It's not just specific, but a lot of the vendors that I speak with, they cater to that market as well as others, and it's coming from their perspective and how it relates to them and what they would need to hear. So I sat down with the concept. I think it took me like 2 years to come up with everything and just to do it, because you always want to be perfect, and weddings and a lot of people's eyes are perfect. So you kind of go through and you're like, okay, I don't want to go out there with something that's going to fail. Because I have like a type A personality where it's like everything has to be perfect. If not, there's not a success. However, when I started, I was nervous and I didn't know what the reaction would be. However, after the first interview, it just blossomed, and here we are.
Awesome. And can you tell me a little bit about your design company?
Event Loft is a floral and event design company that caters to couples wanting to have a luxe and modern experience. We typically do ballroom weddings that have a lot of moving parts, and we use different and unique trends and such to bring everything together. And we like to cater to the couples and have their personalities shown throughout the room. We've grown to being indoors, but we've had to kind of shift to focus outdoors as well. And you can have the same type of event outdoor as you can indoor.
How was your floral and event design work kind of influenced you as you've started up the podcast?
When you're in the industry, you have a lot of what people call frienders. So these are vendors that you work with a lot for different weddings, and you hear some of their stories and their pain points. You hear what they go through. And then when you deal with couples on a one-on-one type of situation, and you hear horror stories, you hear, I wish I'd known, or I didn't know that, or when my mom got married, this didn't happen, or my sister got married and this, and it's just like, well, understanding that things change. When your parents got married, it wasn't the same environment as it is now. Disposable incomes are different, experiences are different. There's a lot more customization when it comes to weddings, and hearing it from, like I said before, hearing it from professionals to understand that this is what it is. So it kind of, if you have like that planner or floral designer or however, they're telling you something, but another professional is also echoing it and it can be shared, then it kind of validates that point. Because a lot of advice I was giving to couples, a lot of my guests were echoing the same sentiment. So it kind of, I know that it's true, but it's just like the whole marketing perspective. You have to see things a few times before, you start, okay, well, this makes sense. And, from there.
Totally. I know for what I do, I have a lot of couples who, especially when they're talking about wedding films and their parents, they imagine like the wedding videos of the 1980s with the date in the corner and everyone cheesing up for the camera, which is not kind of what I do or what most people are doing right now. So I totally hear you. That sort of education for the way things are and what's possible now is so huge.
Wedding video is more cinematic now. There's much smile for the camera, give well wishes to the couple, the cake smash. You don't see the same thing. So to your point, things are different. They've evolved, and trying to get the point across that, okay, here's where we are now with weddings. Will it be the same in 5 years? We don't know. Will it be the same next year? We have no idea. But right here and right now, some of the advice that the professionals, in fact, if not most of it, will transcend throughout any time frame, because it's just a basic professional knowledge when you're going to someone as a vendor to help pull your wedding vision together.
So as far as the podcast goes, what has been your favorite part of doing it so far?
Sitting down and catching up with some of the guests. I've worked with them in the past, and it's been great to just sit down, and although we're talking about weddings, we also, like, I do a warm up before I start recording to kind of get nerves, because some of them are like, well, I'm nervous. I'm like, I am too. However, you're talk to it and we'll get through it. And also it's the best part is just hearing how passionate each guest is about what they do. You can feel it on my end. And I know, as far as when you're doing an interview, you're supposed to have like that talk and listen, but sometimes I find myself listening because it's like really good advice, and I feel like I'm as a bride again. I've been married for almost 11 years, but I find that, I'm back in that, I'm really learning something. And sometimes I am learning something like, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't know what your full process was.
Is there anything specific that really surprised you from any of your guests?
I think the biggest thing is they said, I don't think I can talk that long. It's like you go into a therapist and you're like, I can't talk about anything for more than 5 or 10 minutes. And then 45 minutes had passed and your therapist is like, okay, our time is up. But I think it's more so how you can tell how passionate they are about what they do, because they're able to sustain throughout that. And sometimes I'm like, oh no, we're going to like 40 minutes or we're going longer, but I don't want to stop that, because they're giving some good advice that couples can benefit from. So I think that's part of the most surprising moment that I've had when I sit down with guests.
And what has been kind of the biggest challenge for you to kind of get the podcast going?
Scheduling has been the biggest challenge, because most are home, but you're kind of on their schedule. So it's kind of hard. Sometimes I try to do it like once per week. 1 week I did 2, which helped and gave me a breather for a couple of weeks. But scheduling, because I use an editing service, and they need all my episodes by Thursday. Well, Thursday at the latest, and then they edit them to go out for the next week. So trying to make sure I stay on schedule, and also sometimes content, because you don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again. But sometimes if it's said in a different manner, it may resonate differently with someone else.
As far as moving forward, what are some podcast episodes that you're really excited for moving forward that, people can be on the lookout for?
Well, right now, I'm almost at the end of season 1. Still trying to figure out how to wrap it up. It's been one of those things, because Valentine's Day is coming. So for me, kind of taking a pause, I have a few things going on the floral side of anything. But the next season, I'm looking forward to really up-leveling the experience of the guests. So, the guests for the couple, so that, I really am looking to sit down and talk about branding the wedding, which that's a new term for some, where I've always, kind of said, well, the wedding starts when you send your save the date, and it goes throughout the end of the night from the wedding day. So you want to have that experience and what guests are going to expect. So that's something I'm excited about. And then talking about destination weddings and how that can help, because a lot of people are opting for that. Maybe not now, but that was kind of big, and going to different exotic places. People are going to South Africa, Dominican Republic, Italy, Costa Rica for different destination weddings. So I'm excited about that, and then diving into more in depth some of the topics we talked about in the first season.
So when a new episode of The Wedding Tea pops up on someone's feed in Apple Podcast or wherever else they're getting it, what do you hope they feel What do you hope they're expecting?
I'm looking for excitement. I'm for the unexpected, like, oh, what are they going to talk about now? So I like to go through the days leading up to the episode being released. I like to do teasers. So I do a sneak peek. I do an audiogram. I post it to Instagram. And then I also put the title of the episode. And then although I announce who it is, the day that it releases, I release the cover, so the picture, so that, couples can do their research behind the scenes of who I'm going to talk to. They hear the sneak peek, and then it's finally live. It pops up and they're wanting to hear it. And I've noticed, like, I'm very data driven. So when I look at my analytics behind the scenes, how the excitement has been building, because now when it comes out the gate, I'm getting like a lot of downloads, which is great because people are anticipating it. So that excitement I'm seeing, and that's what I hope continues throughout the longevity of the podcast. Although it's for multicultural couples, the actual advice can apply to any couple. It was just that for me, I saw that there was a niche that was not being hit. And every professional that I've had as a guest, like I said, they also do have other clients as well. They don't just focus, but that's their primary focus, and they can help any couple. So this podcast is for anybody. I think everybody can benefit from it because the advice that's being given transcends into any wedding.
Eilena, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I really appreciate it, and everyone go check out her podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. It's really good, and it will definitely help you navigate your wedding planning.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching all of Eilena's information, both for Event Loft and for the wedding tee will be below. Thank you. Again, this is Say Yes to the Best. Please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. We have new content out all the time to help you with your wedding planning. Thank you again, and happy planning.